Good evening, my name is Kayla Collin, and I am currently a first grade teacher, and I just finished doing an Instagram Live video earlier this evening all about flexible seating, kind of checking in after our first 2 weeks of school. And so I wanted to come in here on Facebook and just share 3 tips that I find very helpful when doing flexible seating. And they're kind of an answer of a lot of questions that I've seen from you guys. So it's just going to be really brief. My first tip I would say is to just make sure that you have a hard surface or a tabletop for every student. It doesn't mean it's the same type of table for every student, but that you have enough options that if every student wanted to be at a table, they could. So in my classroom, I'm going to flip this. No matter how many students you have, as long as you have options for all of them to be at some form of table spot. So right here, I have 7 different stools that go with this built-in table that's along the wall. There's 6 different pillow spots at this table, 6 different crates at this table. That stool table can hold 6 because I have stools that we pull up next to it. And then we have our standing table that also can have 5 or 6 students around it. So yeah, so my first tip is just to have enough table spaces because there are going to be times when the students do want to be at tables. It just depends on the activity. And so even though they look different and they have different seating options and some are movement, some are on their knees, some are standing, some are tall, some are in crates, at least all of them can be at a table if they want. And that also helps with some of the clutter and stuff is if you have a table spot for everybody. So that's my first tip, is to have some kind of hard surface or table spot for everyone when there's a time when everyone needs to be on it, even if it looks different. And then the next one is kind of similar, is just to have a variety of options that are not on a surface or a table surface in addition to that, because there are certain activities like our read to self time where most of the students actually choose not to be at a table. And so I'm going to show you a few things I have in my room that makes it possible that there's more seating options than just those 6 pillows that are on the ground. I'm going to flip this. All right. So for starters, we have this huge carpet floor area that we do all our whole group instruction in, but this is also great for when the students want to just sit on the floor and be able to read or work. Like I said before, we have those 6 pillows that can move. They don't have to stay at the table if they don't want them. And then we also have more pillows inside the TP and then more pillows on the side. And it kind of like a general rule that we have in our classroom is when we're choosing a spot is 1 pillow per student to start with in case lots of students want to sit and the TP holds 1 or 2. So in addition to that, when it's not just read to self time and they're working and they need a surface, I also have enough clipboards for every student. So if there's enough open space, enough clipboards, enough pillows, enough carpet, so that if every student wanted to, they wouldn't even have to be at a table. So that's my second tip. All right, back around again. So my final one. So number 1 was having enough table surfaces for everybody. Number 2 is to have options where they don't have to be at a table, some comfortable options, some things that they can move, and including clipboards always. And then my third tip would be to just have procedures where there are transition, and you practice these procedures to be quick, but that means that everything is staying clean. So I'm going to clarify a little bit. Like I said before, right here, on this carpet is where we do all whole group instruction. We don't bring anything to the carpet unless it's like a special lesson, but our general rule is that nothing comes to carpet. It's where we can listen with our whole bodies. It's our active listening area. It's where I have all their attention. It's a gathering place that we can be together. And then from there, we can fan out and go to the different flexible seating options. And who goes first kind of depends. Sometimes I choose kids who are listening with their whole bodies, who are showing active listening to go first. Sometimes we have class numbers, so I'll go by odd numbers and then even. Sometimes I'll go down the list, but start in a different place every time so that every kid gets a chance to choose first with these options. But I don't just have them all go out at once. They take turns and they fan out. And then when it's time to clean up, so actually to back up, so let's say we were doing a writing activity, and so all we needed for this writing activity, hey Kayla, thanks for joining in. All we needed for this writing activity was pencils and our writing journal. Then I would set down our pencils and our writing journal, and when I have the kids fan out from the carpet to go choose where they want to work, they get their journal, they get their pencil, and then they get to go choose whether it's a table surface or they have a clipboard and they choose where to sit. But then every time we transition, so when that writing, that 10 or 15 minute time that we're writing is up and the bell rings and we transition, we always meet back at that whole group gathering place. So that means all the pencils go back, all the journals will go back into that box. We put it away, even though we might use it again, and then we're all going to come back to this whole group seating area and do our whole group with nothing in our hand. So even though that was a transition to clean and come back, even if we're going to use pencils again, we always put them away, and we get in that habit of those transitions. And for two reasons. For one reason, we're taking ownership of our room and keeping it clean and cleaning up between every single transition. And the second reason is because it's a brain break. And it's that just alone, just putting away the pencils and putting away the journals and cleaning up and the meeting back at carpet, we already got up and we got our brain flow going, and we moved before we came back to whole group. So there's never a time while we're at the carpet where our stuff is just all over the room and we didn't clean up from the last activity. We're in the habit of being quick with our transition, but cleaning up between each one. So it doesn't have to look cluttered, it doesn't have to be messy. So number one, having a table surface option for all the students if that was a case when they all wanted to be at a table, whether it looked different. Number two is having clipboards and lots of options that they can pull away from table. And number three is just taking the time to practice a procedure to have quick cleanup in between all your transitions, and so that the room doesn't have to stay cluttered, that we can put everything away before we meet at our whole group area. And I really recommend having a gathering place. That would be another little tip in there. So if you want more information, like I said, I just did an Instagram story that has a lot more details about how the first 2 weeks of our first grade class did with flexible seating. So you can check it out on Instagram at Teach Like You Mean It, all one word, just like on here. All right, thanks for joining in for this really quick video. Have a wonderful weekend.